Excerpts from the Book of Zeal. The mixed entities. The Vespers and the elementals got along well. With the elementals diligently performing their work, the world saw a new level of prosperity. Everything worked out just as the Vespers had planned. As had become a common occurrence, the Vespers eventually found another point of dissatisfaction. The elementals differed from the Vespers, which fit the Vespers' desires. However, those differences only extended as far as the level of power to which the elementals had access and their fundamental attachment to the world's elements. Other than those examples, the elementals turned out to be too much like the Vespers. For example, the elementals, like the Vespers, were immortal. The Vespers had been too proficient in tying elementals' existences to the elements used to create them. As long as the world and those elements existed, the elementals continued to live. As a result, they also did not procreate. The Vespers valued the elementals as companions. Still, their creation did not solve any of the problems that drove the Vespers to create them. Unfortunately, the elementals could not provide any additional insight into the nuances of mortal existence. The Vespers again grew distraught with their failure to achieve their goal. They convened again to discuss the problem. Zeal opened the conversation.
I know what has been troubling you, my friends, and I have already been thinking about a solution. The trouble with the elementals is that we did too good of a job with their creation. We made them so much like ourselves that we foiled our own efforts.
The Vespers sat in silent agreement.
I know you all want to try again and create something new. We should take a step back. I think we should make new life forms in the same way we made the animals. This time, instead of the Lifa filling them with mana as they did before, we will impart our energy into them.
Zeal continued.
We tried that with the dragons,
Blaze noted.
Yes, we did, but the dragons were an experiment in some ways. Isn't that right, Dragul?
Zeal asked. Dragul pondered Zeal's question.
It is. When we created the dragons, we did not understand how much of our mana versus ambient mana we needed to use. After creating the dragons and the elementals, we know better now. We should do better with new creations than we did with the dragons.
I believe we should also be a little less creative with the forms of this new creation.
Lucef, a member of the Lifa group, suggested.
What do you mean, Lucef?
Lufia asked.
The animals come in every shape and form that we could imagine, but not every form is conducive to the type of existence we seek for our new creation.
The other Vespers understood Lucef's point.
We should use our own forms as a basis.
Crag started.
Instinctively, we chose these shapes because they best equipped us to move through and manipulate the world. If they've worked for us, they should work for our new creation.
The entire Vesper collective approved. They began to move away, but Zeal stopped them.
Wait, I have another idea. The elementals share many characteristics with each of your groups because they are made with only one type of energy. I think you should mix your energies to create the new entities. That would add diversity to the new life forms and make them more like what we initially hoped to create.
We've tried our hand at this several times now. Perhaps we should be a little more thoughtful this time. We Lifa understand the process of creating life better than anyone else. It might be beneficial if we first work with each of the other groups. We can then study the first set of creations, and, if we are pleased, we can continue with other mixtures.
Lucef added on to what Zeal proposed. The collective was in agreement, and their new project commenced. The first races of mankind. The Lifa worked with the other Vespers to devise ideas for their new creation. As done with the animals, they gave their ideas to the Terrans. The Terrans created molds for each idea. The Aquas placed water into the molds, while the Gales drew air into the clay bodies. When the molds were completed, The Lifa combined their energy with that of other groups to bring each set of molds to life. When finished, the Vespers had created yet a new form of life. The Vespers called their newest creation mankind. Mankind included 4 different races. They all shared the intelligence and consciousness of the Vespers, but each of the races differed significantly both from the Vespers and from each other. The Lifa took part in creating all 4 races, but each race also included energy from one other group. Lufsef posited that the differences between the races were a result of the different combinations of Vesper energy used. The first race created was born from the mixture of Lifa energy and Terran energy. They were small, about the size of the average Vesper's hand. When the Vespers released them to find their way in the world, they hollowed out trees and dug out earthen hovels to serve as homes. The Vespers called them gnomes. The second race combined energy from the Lifa and flares. They were small in stature like the gnomes. However, unlike the gnomes, they had wings they could use to fly. The members of the second race could ride the wind for long periods of time and often landed only to rest among the trees. The Vespers referred to them as the pixies. Lifa and Aqua energy brought the third race to life. Members of this race stood about a quarter the height of the average Vesper. Like the pixies, they had wings, but flying did not suit them as much. When they left the Vespers, they chose forest-enclosed areas to live, often near bodies of water. The Vespers named them fairies. The fourth race gained life from the energy of the Lifa and the Gales. They took varying shapes and sizes and could switch between tangible and ethereal forms at will. The members of the fourth race were less restricted by the laws of nature than any of the Vespers' other creations. They could move around the planet without restriction, traveling wherever they wanted in an instant. In that way, they showed similarities with the Vespers themselves. The fourth race became known as the Phantoms. The members of the first 4 races all related very well with each other. Their camaraderie pleased the Vespers. Mankind, like the Vespers, proved to be adept at manipulating the world. Each of the 4 races etched its own niche in Enfadiel. As groups and individuals, they found their own motivations to drive their existences. Unlike animals, mankind was not limited to relying on instincts. They lived just as the Vespers planned. The Vespers made regular visits to mankind's settlements. They delighted in their interactions with the new people. They felt none of the reservations they had about their previous creations. Mankind was everything the Vespers hoped they'd be. The new races could communicate with the Vespers on a deeper level than the animals. They could also learn and grow. They had potential. The Vespers, heartened by their success, continued to create. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe for more tales from Zeal. Also, look out for Birth of the Forever King, the first novel from the world of Zeal. It's coming soon.